good late evening, Wednesday, December 11th, 2024. This is the evening map. Here we have some pretty hefty rain in southern New England. On the backside, it changes over to snow. We even have some snow being reported in parts of Kentucky, Tennessee, and Virginia ahead of this reinforcing shot of cooler air. So let's see how everything evolves this week. Here is our prognostic charts. Here we have the exiting system out of New England. This reinforcing shot of cooler air from the north is going to try to make its way south, bringing some snow showers across the spine of the Appalachians, and that lake effect snow machine gets ramped up again. But as we head into the day on Thursday, that high pressure really starts to take control, and that frontal system kind of fizzles out a little bit. So it might be breezy, but cloudless. Now, we talked Monday's discussion where this high pressure came from. It come from the south, like it dove way far south, and it had plenty of time to modify. So the low temperatures aren't going to be as cold as they were, say, last week when we were in the teens, but it's still going to be pretty chilly in the morning time. But that high pressure starts to slide to the east and northeast. Meanwhile, another system gets ramped up here with some snow and ice on the northern part and some rain in the southern parts of the United States. This system slides to the north and east, and as it does so, it brings rain to the Ohio and Tennessee River valleys and snow across the interior parts of the northeastern United States. And that high pressure still starts to still noses its way into the Piedmont and foothills of the Carolinas, bringing in some cooler air with the rain. So this might be like a cold rain Saturday night into Sunday morning. And then the next system develops out west into the upper parts of the upper plains in southern Canada, and that slides pretty much to the north and east, bringing some cooler air across the middle sections and eastern sections of the United States. And this is just the pattern we're in. Storm, it's what we call a very progressive pattern, with some rain and then sun and then rain, sun, and in between those will be cooler air. At the GFS, this shows us where the precipitation is and the low and high pressure centers are, as well as the cooler and warmer air. So typically the blue lines here indicate cold air, while the red lines indicate, you guessed it, warm air. And more or less the first blue line, this 540 line, is the traditional rain snow line. Now, it's not exactly it, but it's a good approximation. And notice by later tonight and this afternoon, this system has some snow developing on the backside. And notice where that 540 line typically is. It's that rain snow. It's there's a little bit more that goes into it, but it's a good approximation. As we go ahead in time, you can see that these blue lines really don't get that far south. Like we said in the last video, this high pressure has really had time to modify and warm up this time, so it's not really going to be as cold. And then you can see this, like we saw in the prog charts just a little bit ago, this storm with some snow on the northern end and rain on the southern end. And this is a very strong high pressure depicted on the GFS, keeping its nose in our business across the western parts of the Carolinas. And when that happens, typically you have cooler, drier air. And if it was fully winter, once this system came across, it would probably onset as some snow or ice. But it's not this time. Maybe next time, BJ, but not this time. The next system takes shape By early next week, some very heavy rain is expected across the mid-Mississippi River Valley, according to the GFS. And then also according to the GFS, the cold air being pulled in to this surface low catches up to the back edge of the precipitation, and it starts to turn things over to snow across the western parts of the Great Lakes and northern Great Lakes regions. And look how like these black lines are very, very, very close together, which means that this is a very windy area, very windy conditions in and around this storm. So if it does change over to snow, you might be looking at some blizzard type conditions. If this was to verify, and this is just one model run of one model, so then not too much is put into these systems. But when they start to say the same thing over and over and over again, as well as other models saying the same thing over and over and over again, this is where some validity to the forecast is brought to the forecast. I don't know how to say that, but exactly. But you have this system now transitioning over the Great Lakes, and it's still pretty strong. And as the upper level system starts to catch up with the surface low, it'll start to wind down, as they say, and it'll lose some of its juice. And then a little baby clipper in the mid-Mississippi River Valley, bringing some light snow across the Iowa, southern parts of Minnesota and Wisconsin, and Missouri. This map is the European Ensemble Prediction System, and this tells us where the anomalously cool air is, or the lower the heights and the 500 millibar section. So here's our strong trough here, and it's very anomalous this time of year, which means that the heights are lower than average, which mainly indicates that temperatures are a bit lower than average, typically. Now, in between where you see the reds and the blues, especially if the reds are on the right side and the blues are on the left side, in between there is where you'll see some rain and precipitation and thunderstorms. And that's exactly what we would have this afternoon, is mainly across the southern parts of New England, is exactly that. Now, the story that this ensemble prediction system tells us is that there's going to be some anomalously high pressure even in the midst of these little short waves. These are little bits of energy that are riding the pretty much the mean ridge across the eastern half of the United States into the weekend and into early next week. We'll have some sort of progressive pattern, and then the model, or this particular ensemble prediction system, tells us that by the 21st, this is like 10 days out, there will be a mean ridge start to set up again across the west and a mean trough again across the east. And typically, if we were to look at, well, let's go ahead and look at the 5-day averages. The 2-meter temperature 5-day averages, this tells us where the big troughs and big ridges are. The bigger the ridge and the bigger the trough, the slower they're going to move. So even if you have a ridge or a trough, you're going to have these little bits of energy that are going to ride through the flow. And that's, that has a lot of impact on the sensible weather, whether it rains or whether it's sunny outside. But the large scale, what we're going to be looking at here, the large scale pattern also tells us a little bit about what to expect on average. And when you have these ridges, so on average, over the period between the 11th and the 16th, you can expect more drier, perhaps warmer conditions. And where you have the trough is where you can expect cooler conditions. And in between, like on when the ridge is on the right side and the trough is on the left side, in between, like such as in this particular case, in the eastern parts of the United States, you can have some unsettled weather. And as we go through the forecast period, notice that for a time, typically those lines are pretty much horizontal. So this indicates a mean zonal flow. So this means that the atmosphere is primed for a progressive pattern like we've been seeing, which means that storm systems will form and then they'll scoot off quickly to the east and northeast, and nothing really stays in place for a long period of time. But then we have a ridge start to develop and a trough start to develop in the eastern parts and the ridge in the western parts, which means that on the period between December 16th and the 21st, there is a possibility of some unsettled weather across the eastern seaboard. So this is to the left or to the east of the mean trough. And that's all that means. This tells us the big pattern, the big picture. Yeah, sure, there's going to be little bits of energy riding down from Canada, which will bring some snow probably to the northern parts of the United States, some rain to the southern parts of the United States. But this gives us the mean overall pattern of the synoptic scale weather, which gives us an idea of is there going to be a big snowstorm? And right now, you got all these warm colors here. It's not going to snow yet. It's not. But it might sometime beyond this, but not for the foreseeable future. That does it for this video. Thank you for watching. Here's your unsettled weather. Just now exiting the seaboard, the eastern seaboard. And yeah, I hope y'all have a good Thursday, and I'll see you in the next video.